it's a holographic breathing that helps us come in contact with the cranial fluids or the cranial sea. Doing holographic breathing gives you the ability to travel in your body, to feel the anatomy, to feel the energies. It gives you an internal quality of feeling and seeing. And I have to say, it's quite a lot of energy tonight. I'm having trouble keeping my eyes open because I can feel this channel coming through. And I do work with channels when I'm teaching holographic breathing. You know, healing energies come through. And I actually find that webinars, that happens much more strongly in webinars than when I'm working directly with people. So it's quite a good medium for me to work. And quite often, if you're new to this, if you start phasing in and out or falling asleep, it's kind of normal. I don't know if it's my voice or the energies. People kind of float in and out of consciousness. And also with holographic breathing, it's very deep, but it's also very easy to fall asleep and then wake up and fall asleep. And it's fine to do that. If that happens, don't force yourself to stay awake or aware. Let yourself float back in and out, because that has a healing effect on its own. So there is, and it also opens people to their own channels. And you know, I energies come through me, but also with everyone in the group. You bring your own energies. When you start doing holographic breathing, you start channeling your own energies and start connecting to the earth. So it very much is a kind of a spiritual healing breathwork system in a way. It evokes the kundalini, but it also evokes people's ability to channel, and not just to connect with their bodies, but their ancestry, different higher energies, different earth energies. It starts doing that. It starts opening up a whole inner alchemy where you can connect to everything around and work in different ways. And you can use it as a hands-on healing system. You can just put your hands on somebody and start doing holographic breathing, and the whole healing process will start working. So there's many facets to holographic breathing. So I'm going to be teaching that. This webinar, or this understanding of the cranial fluids, came about from when holographic breathing came through about 20 years ago. And I was pretty well bedridden. I was very ill with Lyme disease, shaking a lot, very, very tired. And I was continually ill with bronchitis or pneumonia. And to be honest, I don't think I would have lasted much longer. Another bout of pneumonia, and I think that would have been the end of me. And holographic breathing came through. It just started while I was meditating. And I just found it amazing, this wave-like motion and breath and understanding, and channels just started moving through me. It was really an epiphany as it just commenced and started. And because at that was the time when I found out I had Lyme's disease. Before that, I didn't have a clue what was wrong with me. I just felt like I was dying. But I discovered I had neurological Lyme's disease. And I was already a cranial sacral therapist and healer. And I thought, well, okay, well, let's use the holographic breathing to work with the brain, the cranial fluids, the neural tissue, the spine and the nerves to help heal that area. And this may be only applicable to cranial sacral therapists, I don't know, but I had an image of the cranial fluid from my cranial trainings, in that it surrounds the brain, surrounds the spinal cord, and there's ventricles in the brain with cranial fluid in, and it goes down the center of the spine, and that was kind of it. It doesn't flow out through the nerves, it just all stays confined in that area, according to the anatomy books and what I've been taught. But with holographic breathing, as I went into that area, it started as just being how I had pictured it or seen it or was taught it. But very quickly, that feeling of the cranial fluid was through the whole brain, it was through the whole spinal cord, and it was flowing off down through the nerves. And it was a very real experience. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just imagining it. I could just feel that happening. And as this cranial fluid flowed off down through the nerves and down my arms and legs, I could feel the toxins releasing from my brain. Lyme's disease creates a lot of neural toxins. It attacks the glial cells of the brain cells. It burrows into the dura. It does all sorts of terrible things. And I could feel these toxins and toxic energy releasing down from the brain, from the nervous system, just spreading out through the nerves and then just making its way into the lymph and then out through the normal body ways of detoxifying. And if I try going back to breathing with the pictures that's in the books, that one, I could hardly breathe. Just wasn't possible to breathe. Everything felt constricted. And two, there was no elimination. So I just did it how I experienced it and let that happen. And this was a turning point for me recovering from Lyme's disease. Later on, I went, because it was such a real experience to me, I went on to start investigating that image, and I discovered I was right. The cranial fluid in the ventricles and around the brain is exactly the same as the cranial fluid within the brain and the spinal cord. And it's not like the cells in the brain are tightly connected. They're far apart with tentacles connecting them. So they're a bit like sea anemones and seaweed in this sea of cranial fluid. And then when I looked into it further, there was nothing, no membrane, no anything to stop this cranial sea flowing off down the nerves. And then later on I discovered that actually the myelinating glial cells, which produce the myelin C, these actually, for me, well, they are filled with spirals of cranial fluid, and they make capillaries to let the cranial fluid flow off down the nerves. So as far as I was concerned, I was right. And when I looked back at how it is described in the anatomy books, it's impossible. It's impossible to work. Not only is it impossible to work that, it is, once you understand the underlying principles of what's happening there, it's a ridiculous theory. It just cannot work in that way. Now, I'm not going to go into the anatomy of that in this too much, but I've written three kind of, I painted it all at kind of later, about 10 years ago now. I just made paintings of it all, and I've made that into 3 articles. So you can look at those, and if you're a cranial therapist, please share them among friends, or if you're any kind of healer that's learnt the traditional view of the cranium and cranial fluid, please feel free to pass those articles amongst colleagues, because the picture that is in the anatomy books, if you take that on as a visualization or of how you are inside, it completely confines your energy, for me anyway. And if you look at it at one, you don't have to believe in my theory, but if you look at the underlying principles, you can make up your own theory. But if you look at it as one fluid and flowing off down through the nerves, everything starts working. So we're going to do that. We're going to work with that. I'm going to teach holographic breathing, and then we will just go into sensing the cranial fluid and letting it flow through that whole system and letting it flow off through the nerves, just in the first meditation. And then in the second meditation, we'll take that deep and we'll work with the thalamus, the third eye complex, the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, all this area in the center of the brain, and how that energizes the cranial sea, and how there is cranial sea is water. It's 99% water. It's perfect for channeling. The whole brain, that means the whole brain is just full of water, salt water, which is a perfect medium for channeling energies. So the brain becomes a portal for higher energies to come in, and it comes down through the crown chakra. Water's got a memory. That energy comes into the water, and the water holds that quality, and then it's all brought together. So it all has to actually pass through the thalamus and the third eye complex, and the water picks up the quality of the third eye complex. It comes down the spine, spreads out through all of the nerves. There's this unbroken chain of water that these energies can flow out of. If you had just your nerves there, nerve capillaries, you wouldn't be able to tell any difference. You would fall over because you didn't have any bones, but if you were held up, the whole exterior and interior would look the same, because they get so fine and they just cover every area. So that water, that intelligence flows through the whole body. And it's not just like, we think, oh, the brain thinks. How does the brain think? Is it the glial cells thinking? What is it thinking there? Is it consciousness? Why would that be in the brain cells and that consciousness not be in the water? So this water has an intelligence, and spirit travels through. There's even that song, the spirit and water. The spirit travels through the waters of our body, and it comes in through the thalamus, through the whole nervous system, out through the whole body. And I'll show you some pictures as we go into the second one, but as I've made that all into articles, it's freed me up to teach this in a much easier way. All right, let's just check the time. So I just want to make sure I've given people enough. Okay, they've had plenty of time. People aren't here by now. It's just tough. Where can you find the articles? Someone's written. I will email them out to you. Tomorrow I'll make the recordings of this. And I'll send those articles out. I really, whether you're going to do it or not, I really want cranial sacral therapists, cranial osteopaths to share those pictures around. I can't do, I spent 2 years painting those pictures and doing that. The least you can do and done it all for free, teach it for free. The least you can do is give it out to some friends who it may help, you know. So please share them around. Send them, if you got taught the traditional way that the cranial fluid looks like in your cranial school, send them the pictures, send them the articles, because they show it's absolutely impossible to work in that way. So please, you know, pass this on. It's a gift. Pass it on to other people. You know, sometimes it's hard work to help other people. Sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes you can just give them an article. It's done, and it changes. You know, that image is a very potent thing. If you've got the image of inside you and inside your clients of how it's shown in the anatomy book, that is a powerful image, and that undermines your health, and that undermines the way you're working. And words have a powerful image as well. The blood-brain barrier. This isn't a word, this is an image that divides the brain from the blood and the rest of the body, and divides the cranial fluid from the rest of the body. The myelin sheath, this is an image, doesn't give an image of water flowing off through capillaries. This gives the image of some kind of dry fabric, and it's not even, and it's called that, it's called a rubbery sheath, which is not true. So these images and these words are not true. I am passionate that people actually find out, and if this changes you in any way, please pass those pictures around. They're great articles. Please pass the recordings around. I edit all the shares out, and it's just the teaching of it, you know, pass that around. Okay, brilliant. I can get off my soapbox now. So, right, holographic breathing just started in meditation. And you can start off doing this from the start. Have the lips closed and relaxed. Have the tongue relaxed on the roof of the mouth. Now it's the upper surface of the tongue, and as much as feels comfortable. So it may be half an inch of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, it may be an inch, the whole tongue may be covering the roof of the mouth. To start off with, it's just as much as feels comfortable. Later, with holographic breathing, the tongue becomes more and more relaxed and just splays out over the whole roof of the mouth. But to start off with, the main thing is that that is comfortable. The tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth. So the tongue is on the roof of the mouth, the lips are closed. Now we're not going to do the exercises just yet. I'm just going to explain it all first, and then we'll do the exercises to get holographic breathing going. Along with that, there's a small motion of the jaw. On the in-breath, the jaw is gently opening, and on the out-breath, the jaw is gently closing. And with that, all of the time, when the jaw is opening and closing, the lips stay closed all of the time, and the tongue stays on the roof of the mouth. But to start off with, if you're new to this, just get used to the lips being closed, the tongue on the roof of the mouth. But try it. Have your lips closed and just try moving your jaw up and down. Not with the breath, but just move it up and down, and just check you can get that experience that you can move your jaw and you can have your lips closed, because that is the primary thing that people say. So I can't open my jaw and have my lips closed. Small motion of the jaw, just half a finger width, a quarter of an inch, it's not big. Put your hand up if you can't do that. If you can't have your lips closed and move your jaw. Let me just look on the other page. No one put their hands up, so okay, we're all right. I'm going to demonstrate it first so you can see it's very subtle. You probably won't even see any motion. So I'll just do 3 or 4 breaths and you'll see the lips stay closed, very subtle motion of the jaw. And very, very quickly it becomes a deep and meditative experience. As we go into this, it starts off as an exercise. I'm starting off learning it as an exercise, but at a certain point it just aligns with your normal breath through your whole body, and it's not really, at that point, you're not learning anything anymore. There's a memory from within us and within the cells. It's intrinsically part of us. It just carries on in its own. In a way, that's how the jaw would move if you allowed it with the breath. So you just drop into this very natural way of breathing, all sorts of energies, meditations, kind of elixirs, the kind of the brain starts giving off elixirs in a way. A lot of people say it's a bit like taking drugs, holographic breathing, because it gives you this very nice feeling very quickly. Because the whole brain starts breathing, I think it starts giving off all sorts of kind of endorphins and things. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to say before we go into that. If this is your first time learning holographic breathing, you want to be sitting upright, because it becomes very relaxing very quickly, and people go to sleep without even knowing they're asleep. I've run groups, and the whole group has been asleep. And afterwards, when I questioned, no, I wasn't asleep, even though they were snoring. So holographic breathing, people go to sleep and they don't even know they're asleep. That isn't a problem if you already know holographic breathing. But the first time you do it, there's a specific sequence and there's very particular things you have to learn for it to work properly. So for this first meditation, where you're actually learning holographic breathing, sitting up for the new people, everybody else can do it however they want. Once it just feels easy and natural, if you want to lie down, then you can. And then in the second meditation, if you want to lie down, doing it lying down. But if this is the first time, for this first meditation, definitely sitting up. So we're going to go through different exercises to bring in holographic breathing. And at a certain point, it just starts. There's a memory, and it just feels like I've always known this from somewhere before, and it's just going, and it just feels totally natural. So at that point, we take the emphasis away from the jaw and become more aware of the breath through the whole body and the anatomy of the body, and the jaw just follows along with that. So that is the journey we'll be taking. All right, so we're going to begin. So closing your eyes. And if you know holographic breathing, gently dropping into the holographic breathing. Otherwise, just gentle, relaxed breathing. upper surface of the tongue is on the roof of the mouth. the tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth. And just gently breathing. And sending a smile to the earth. We're going to bring in some energies to start off with. Sending a smile to the earth and allowing the earth to say hello back. Allowing yourself to receive from the earth. Notice what that feels like through your body and through your energies. And sending a smile, sending some energy to the higher self and the beneficial energies. And allow the higher self and the beneficial energies to say hello back. Beneficial energies, anything you like to work with, any higher energies, beneficial energies you work with. Saying hello to the higher self and beneficial energies, sending some energy, and allow them to say hello back. Allow yourself to receive from the higher self, the subtle realms, and your guides. Gently breathing, and notice what that feels like through your whole body. Allow that to travel through your whole body. So you're connected to the earth, you're connected to your channels, you're connected to the higher self. And asking the earth, the higher self, and the beneficial energies to be with you through this whole webinar as a healing energy in your guide and resource. The lips are relaxed and closed. The tongue is relaxed and on the roof of the mouth. The breath is through the nose. Gently breathing. And then just start making very small movements with the jaw. It's just half a finger width, a quarter of an inch, a few millimeters, up and down, a bit like chewing. And notice you can do that and keep your lips closed. Just slow, relaxed motions of the jaw. And then slowing that motion down, slowing your breath down. And then as the jaw is opening, allow the breath to come in through the nose. As the jaw is closing, allow the breath to leave through the nose. The jaw is opening, feels like a little bellows. It feels like it's drawing the breath in through the nose. The jaw slowly and gently closing. The breath is leaving through the nose. Relax the back of the neck, relax the back of the head, relax your whole body. This gentle pump is happening as the jaw relaxes open. The breath automatically comes in through your nose. As the jaw is gently closing, the breath is coming out through your nose, and all of the time the lips are relaxed and closed, and all of the time the tongue is on the roof of the mouth. If this feels awkward in any way, make the movement slower, smaller, and more relaxed. The jaw relaxes open, the breath comes in. The jaw relaxes closed, the breath leaves. Now we're going to change the gestalt. We're going to change the emphasis, and it will all become more meditative. So rather than having the awareness first in the jaw, now have the awareness first in the breath. The breath comes in through the nose and the jaw relaxes open with it. The breath comes out through the nose and the jaw relaxes closed with it. Breathing in, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out, the jaw relaxes closed. Notice how everything gets much softer and more meditative. You don't have to try anymore. Just synchronizes with the breath. As you're breathing in, the jaw floats open. As you're breathing out, the jaw floats closed, and the lips stay relaxed with a soft seal, and the tongue stays relaxed and on the roof of the mouth, all of the time on the in-breath and the out-breath. You may start feeling meditative quality or energies traveling through you. Breathing in, the jaw is floating open. Breathing out, the jaw is floating closed. The teeth just float together. They don't, no pressure between the teeth. They either just gently touch or are just very slightly apart, so that it never becomes fixed. There's this gentle motion of the jaw all of the time. And once it starts going, it feels like a memory. It feels like I've known this my whole life and all of my lives, and I've just been waiting for this to start again. You may start feel it activating through your face, through your brain. You may feel energy starting to pass through your brain and spine and whole body. And we're going to move away from the face and jaw as the chest opens. The jaw follows. It opens with the chest. As the chest closes, the jaw gently closes. The breath and the jaw just follow the lungs and chest. And dropping down into your abdomen, the abdomen opens, the jaw gently opens with it. As the abdomen closes, the jaw gently closes with it. You can feel how easy it is to drop into your abdomen and get this full breath with your abdomen, this movement of the jaw, or allowing the jaw to move with the abdomen allows you to take a deeper breath or a freer breath with your abdomen. You may be able to feel right down into your pelvis and pelvic floor. Breathing in, the pelvis is opening, jaw's opening with it. Breathing out, the pelvis is closing, the jaw is closing with it. And in a very subtle way, you might start feeling that the whole face has started to breathe, that your brain has started to breathe, that your skull has started to breathe, that your neck has started to breathe, and that the whole body, in a very subtle way, is starting to breathe. Every cell opening on the in-breath, every cell closing on the out-breath. The body is unifying in one breath. Being aware of the arms and legs breathing, the hands and feet breathing. Notice how you can perceive the breathing motion of the body on a whole new level. It's no longer just the lungs or the abdomen. Feel every cell breathing. You can feel your brain breathing. You can feel the energies moving through your spine. And as the energies move through your brain, you go into deeper and deeper layers of consciousness and meditation. Relaxing the back of your neck, relaxing the back of your head. Notice that it's not a technique. It's just inherent within us. Once it starts, it just keeps going. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Okay, we're going to become aware of the cranial sea. And one way to feel this, or to start feeling this, is the sideways motion of the face, head and body. This may take a little bit of time to get used to, but with the jaw and the face, the jaw isn't just opening up and down, there's a sideways motion. As you breathe in, it's all opening to the sides. As you breathe out, it's all closing medially back towards the middle. And the sides of the cranium, around the ears, opening out to the sides as you breathe in, closing medially as you breathe out. Then the throat and the neck, as if you've got gills, opening up to the sides as you breathe in, closing as you breathe out. You may start feeling your spine adjusting as that happens. You might start feel energy releasing in your spine. Your lungs and your arms opening out to the sides on the in-breath, closing immediately on the out-breath. The abdomen and legs opening to the sides as you breathe in, closing as you breathe out. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Lips stay closed and relaxed, the tongue stays relaxed on the roof of the mouth. And becoming aware of the sides of the head as they open, may feel like gills of a fish around your ears that the head can breathe. Opening out on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. And underneath the temporal bones and the parietal bones at the sides of the cranium, you've got this first layer of cranial fluid. Cranial fluid is water, it's 99% water. As this movement of the cranium, you can feel it ventilating that cranial fluid. And then inside each hemisphere of the upper brain, you've got two ventricles full of just cranial fluid. These open on the in-breath, close back towards the middle on the out-breath. And then there's ventricles in the thalamus, in the center of the brain, through the brain stem and down through the whole spine. So these areas are just full of cranial sea. Around the brain, around the spine, in the center of the spine, in the center of each hemisphere of the brain, and then in the center of the brain stem and thalamus. The seat of consciousness in the water. So notice that cranial sea there, and then notice that the whole brain is made of cranial sea. The brain is 90% water and the cranial sea is 99% water. The cells just connected by tentacles floating in this sea. Notice when you become aware of the whole brain and whole spine as cranial sea and the ventricles as cranial sea, so it's all cranial sea. Notice if your breath gets deeper, that it helps your breath expand. This central, intelligent water at the center of our body and the center of our being. The very central core of our anatomy is water, and the whole brain and spine is 90% water. The intelligence and the spirituality moves through the water. Notice when you become aware of the waters of the brain, you become open to cosmic intelligences and healing energies to arrive down into this pool of water and start channeling down through the spine. Now feel that intelligence, that healing energy and water flowing out through the nerves. So it spreads out from the spine, around the chest, around the abdomen, down the arms and legs. Just flows out through the nerves, and the nerve capillaries get smaller, or the nerves get smaller and smaller, and all the nerve capillaries, myelinating capillaries, just spread out through your whole body. So there's this unbroken rivers of water spreading out through everything, through the vagus nerve, spreads down through the heart, the lungs, the intestines. So there's this central area of water. In the third eye, it's picking up the energies of the third eye. In the crown chakra, it's picking up the energies of transcendence. And that water is flowing down in an unbroken way through pipes and tubes and filaments out through your whole body, and that transcendence, that intelligence, that spiritual quality flows off through your whole body. You are connected to God. And you can feel the intelligence of the water, the same way as maybe glial cells can be intelligent. The water is intelligent. It is intelligence, and intelligences flow through it, and that travels off through your whole body, healing everything. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. I'm feeling a lot around the cervical spine in people's necks. Allow your neck to relax and allow that healing water to flow down through your neck and through your throat. It spreads out from the spine forwards into the thyroid, into the throat, into the whole neck. And breathe with the holographic breathing. Notice how the neck will connect you to the arms and legs. It flows off down through the arms, down through the legs, down through the hands and feet. And breathe. Notice how the hands, soon as you're feeling that moving through the hands and the feet, the whole brain lights up. The hands and feet relate to the brain. The arms and legs relate to the kundalini, the spine and the throat. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Let that healing happen. And also from the lower energies, from your sexual area, from the pelvic floor, from the feet, this darker energy rises up through the spine, up through the body, up through these waters as a grounding, fruitful energy rises through that, rises through the throat, rises through the brain, getting lighter as it goes. Allow that to go through your brain and heal your brain so it starts flowing both ways. You have the higher energies falling and the lower energies rising. And those energies release through the crown chakra up into transcendence, the subtle realms, the higher self. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing, allowing that all to go off. Allowing yourself to heal. Allowing the earth to connect to you through your feet, to move through your whole body, connect to the heavens through the top of your head. Allow the earth kundalini to heal you and connect to its counterpart in the heavens. Let the earth, it's a bit like an orgasm, an earth orgasm or kundalini, can be strong to start off with. It releases in the same way as your kundalini can rise from your sexual energies, the earth kundalini can rise from your feet and your sit bones up, healing through you and healing through your brain, and then rising up into the heavens to meet her lover, the universe and the higher self. higher self and the universe comes down through you as the equal, gently breathing with the holographic breathing, bringing enlightenment and energies beyond our comprehension. Flowing through us, healing us, aligning us with the heavens, and through our hands and feet into the earth. Those two lovers connect through us, and we are made of both of them. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing, letting that happen. We're going to come back in about a minute. Gently breathing, letting that calm down and soften. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourself to come back. Let's look at a little bit of anatomy. I'm not going to show much. Somebody put a link in the questions, and I'll definitely, or in the text, and I'll definitely put it up with the video. It will be in the description of that. But there's a link there, and the article's about halfway down that page, and you can just click on the button. There's 3 articles, one showing how the normal way it's seen is impossible, other ones showing how the myelinating glial cells make capillaries so that it can spread out through the whole body, another one showing how it moves and how it produces lymph, and how the lymph, the cranial lymph, is actually the flow of cranial fluid. And just, these aren't just anatomy pictures. These are a way of viewing that system internally. And it gives you a means of viewing it. So you can look at the picture and say, oh, that's kind of how it looks like and what it does inside. So you can view it in that way. And it gives a natural and a holistic way of seeing it. As far as I'm concerned, it is how it works, but it shows the underlying principles. And once you view your central nervous system and brain in that way, it's whether you're doing holographic breathing or not, it just starts opening up, starts receiving energies, it starts connecting with God, the higher self, the creator, whatever. It starts connecting to the earth. This whole thing goes off. If you hold the image that is shown in the book, nothing happens. So you're not just learning anatomy with those pictures. You're learning how to view something that's already there, so that you naturally start ascending and grounding and evolving, and that this whole area, you can view it, and you can view it in a healing way. And that moves into transcendence and enlightenment. You know, the anatomy of the brain and central nervous system, it is the anatomy of the higher energies. It's also the anatomy of the mind. And by being able to view it, you're able to view the qualities and mechanics of the mind. It's not so much watching thoughts. There's a certain quality to the intellect. There's a certain quality to the mind, and you start becoming aware of that. And when you start becoming aware of that, you are no longer it. Once you're viewing something, by definition, you are no longer that. So it's incredibly important to have images of the brain that are holistic and make sense, because that automatically brings you into a domain when you can start ascending, you can start evolving. This whole area can start communicating through your body. It can communicate with the earth, and it can communicate with the higher self. And I don't think it's a coincidence that there's an image in the anatomy books that stops that from working. I don't think that that is an accident. I don't think that the scientists put it there because of that reason, but I think some whole energy thing, the stars, the planets, the energies, whatever, put that there's some kind of block. It just seems like too much of coincidence, this thing that is totally impossible to work in that way. If an 8-year-old child understood the basic anatomy of the brain, he or she would know that what was in the anatomy books just can't work. It's not like you need much intelligence to understand it. So how that image was first come about, I don't know. And how it ended up in the anatomy books, I don't know. But I think it's important to have a way of looking at that anatomy that opens up to the higher energies, that gives you a way of being with your mind. The myelinating glial cells have that quality of the mind. They're kind of for me, the myelinating glial cells are the interface between the intellect, mind, and the higher self. They move between those two realities. And when I was painting the pictures of the myelinating glial cells, I could feel my mind becoming more and more active. But at the same time, this ability arose because I was looking at the pictures and painting them. I could just drop back and out of that and just be aware of this channel coming through, or the higher self, or samadhi, or whatever you want to call it, where you're no longer a prisoner of that area. So it's not just anatomy, it's not just a theory, it's a truly important part of evolution and a tool for ascendance. So that is how I see it. I couldn't paint. I'm totally dyslexic. I can't paint. You can't look at these pictures in the anatomy books, or most of them you can't. They're just not there. I had to paint them to show these things. And I started off, suddenly I could paint and do these pictures, and I spent about 1.5 years doing it, slowly going through, and then it kind of came to an end and I couldn't paint again. I couldn't do any more pictures, but they have a certain quality to them, they have a certain feel to them. So if you think of your brain as just a solid thing, then there's no fluid there. But if you look at it from the inside, notice this is all water. This is all 99% water, and then there's oxygen, salt and glucose. This is inside the body of the brain, and the cells are like sea anemone and seaweed, and there can be just a flow of fluid through all of this. This is a ventricle. There's no cells in the ventricle. So the whole body of the brain is like these. These astrocyte cells are holding it all together so that it just doesn't become a fluid. The tentacles from these little astrocyte cells, they hold it so that it stays like jelly rather than just floating around as a mush in your brain. And these are myelinating glial cells around the nerve there. As I say, you can look at those articles. Really, really worthwhile to do that. You know, people think anatomy is boring. That is such a load of rubbish. Anatomy is the sacred geometry of your body. Look at human anatomy. Look at what they look like. And then at different levels, that becomes energy. So here we have a picture of the ventricles. There's two of these. These are in both hemispheres of the brain. This is in the center of the thalamus between them. So this is two halves of the brain. And then this comes down through the brain stem and then down through the whole spine. So that's the ventricles. All around the outside of the cranium is cranial fluid. These are like caves full of cranial fluid. And then the whole brain is cranial fluid with seaweed. So the ventricles are a bit like caves with no seaweed in it. Here it is from the front. This is the thalamus. So at the back you've got the cerebellum. This is the third ventricle in the middle of the thalamus. The thalamus expands backwards. I couldn't do 3D at the time, but the thalamus will expand back, and these ventricles wrap around the thalamus, and then the third ventricle is inside the thalamus, drops down inside the whole brainstem. So these are kind of central in the cerebrum. So water is at the center of each hemisphere of the cerebrum. It's center in the thalamus. It's center in the brainstem. It's center down through the whole spine, and it's just water. And you have to take that into consideration when you're looking at your anatomy and you think the brain is something solid, intelligence is something to do with the glial cells, that actually at the very center of the brain, of the spinal cord, of the brain stem, of the thalamus is water. And intelligence can go through water just as easy as intelligence can go through cells. And the cells are made of water anyway. So here we have it looks like a little bird. It's got the thalamus in the middle with the ventricles wrapped around it. Third ventricle in the middle, that's the thalamus, the brain stem, that's the cerebellum, cerebrum. So doing it in watercolours, it kind of just brings it out as water. I'm not going to show many, I'm just going to give you an idea. Here we have a nerve. In the images they show in the books, they say the cranial fluid can't flow down the nerves and it can't flow out through the dural membrane, which carries on around the whole system. One fundamental underlying principle of water in the body is that water can flow anywhere. It will flow through any membrane, it will flow through any cell in the body, and if it's going through cells, it just flows via osmosis. Water just goes anywhere. If the pressure is more on one side, it will just flow through that cell, through that membrane, whatever. So to say cranial fluid, which is 99% water, can't flow down the nerves, can't flow out through the dura, well, 99% of it can do for a start off. So it's a ridiculous concept to say in the first place. And here we have, this is like the spinal cord here. These are all the myelinating glial cells. These, I draw this one near the beginning. These actually join together in the nerves. In the brain they're open, they join together, they make capillaries. There's no membrane, there's no nothing to stop that cranial sea flowing off down through the nerve. It blocks up your whole energy, having an image that separates your cranial fluid from the rest of your body. It's a strong thing, an image. If someone tells you, no, it can't flow off down through your nerves, no, it can't flow through the dural sheath, dural membrane. That gives you an image. It was massive, I mean huge, when I allowed that all to flow off through my nerves. And I go into it in more detail in those articles. But that is the lymph of the brain. The lymph of the brain is the fluid that's flowing off down through the nerves. So it brings you into the whole detoxing capacity of the brain to be able to experience that flowing off through the nerves. Here it is in the nerves, the myelinating glial cells. These, you can't do it in a picture, these are much longer. These are 100 times as long as they're wide. They have these junctions, but there's thousands of little tentacles joining backwards and forth at the junctions so the water can flow from one into the other. And this just gives you water or cranial sea capillaries that travel out through your whole body. So experiencing this as a word, experiencing these myelinating glial cells as a rubbery sheath, as the myelin sheath. If you've got MS and you've got that image of the myelin sheath, not much chance for healing there. But if you've got that image of these wonderful, incredible cells with the most phenomenal geometry, again I show that geometry in the pictures, it will give you, it's not anatomy is sacred geometry, it will give you the sacred geometry of the central core of your body and how it's transported out through every nerve capillary through your whole body. Okay. That's all the pictures I'm going to show. It's there, those articles are there. I spent a good 18 months I was homeless, I'd lost all my money, I was still dying of Lyme's disease, I was living in a van and travelling up and down this sacred pathway, and I was beset that I was feeling it in one way and the anatomy books were definitely wrong, so I started painting these pictures. So my homeless travellings across Britain, I made these pictures and they're free for everybody. And I was parked up at sacred sites all along the ridgeway. It's got Stonehenge there, it's got Glastonbury, you can get to Glastonbury from it, it's got Avebury. There's just one sacred site after another, and I was just sitting at these sacred sites with little to nothing and just my van and me painting this anatomy. All right, and I needed that anatomy to get better from Lyme's disease. If I kept that old image, I probably wouldn't be here now. You know, it's not just it was for everyone else, but actually painting these gave me such a good image of my own anatomy. And I came to the last picture, I painted the last picture, and I did a little YouTube video which never got published, and I was just editing that, and this energy just started to pour through me. Painting these pictures, I was becoming more and more able to view the inside of my brain and how it worked and everything. And the kundalini rose and travelled through the brain, carried on. The most terrifying experience of my life, and it never stopped. That just went forever. So that won't happen to other people. It's only if you're, you know, I needed to leave society completely. I needed to be alone. I needed to view that. All sorts of things came together. This whole spiritual event went off. It didn't feel very spiritual at the time. I would have done anything to stop that energy running. But you cannot be your mind any longer. Once that energy travels through the brain, once that energy travels through the myelinating glial cells and through the cranial fluid, that door never closes. And it gives you, you're no longer what you were before, but you get this wonderful channel, connection to God, connection to the earth. And I don't think it happens to people unless they're along the line or they're ready, because you definitely have to have the wherewithal not to get banged up in a loony bin. And I spent the next year kind of getting used to that. And then ever since then, the holographic breathing's just been coming through much more powerfully. I love this energy that's traveling through my brain now. I think that gets, somehow people on the groups pick that up, because for the days after the groups I can't access it in the same way, and all sorts of things are just, I'm assimilating all sorts of things for 2 days after teaching holographic breathing. And people say that they don't, it's not like, it feels nice in the webinar, but for 2 days afterwards you'll probably be processing different things. And then on the third day, then I get that first rush of kundalini really pouring through again. I think, oh my God, thank God, there's this energy now. What was the most terrifying thing and ongoing thing, it's not like you can escape from it, turned into such a beautiful and unbelievable gift, really. So, and I wouldn't teach holographic breathing for ages. I definitely wouldn't show the pictures to anyone. So I thought, you know, I don't want that to happen to other people. But I now realise it's only going to happen to people when it's right. So I started teaching again. Now you're all here. So if your brains get blown out, I take no responsibility, by the way. And it'll all be right in 10 years' time when you get used to it. Until that point, forget about your life. All right. Okay. So the top part of the brain, the cerebrum, cerebrum here, it's 85% of the brain. There are no nerves for it to flow out from there. And as I said, there's all of this cranial lymph flowing off that's flowing towards the exits of the nerves. So this has to flow towards where it can flow out. And there's a tentorium, there's a membrane across here, and the brainstem comes up through it. It's all flowing towards the hole that the brainstem comes through. It flows into the ventricles and into the thalamus, and then down through that hole, then out through the cranial nerves, out through the whole face from the brain stem, flows down through the spine, flows out through the whole nerve. So, but for it to get through that hole, it goes through and around the thalamus, which is the third eye complex. The ventricle in the middle of that, it's got the pituitary gland, it's got the pineal gland, it is the thalamus, it's got the hypothalamus in that area. So all of the cranial fluid is channeling into that area. It's all going through those ventricles, through the thalamus, through the third eye, and it's picking up the quality of all of those energies as it goes through. Then it's going down through the spine, and it's water, it's got a memory that stays in that, and that's spread out through these nerve capillaries which go to every cell in the whole body. So that central core of intelligence flows through that and around that, down the spine and out to everything. So we're going to do that, and we're going to spend a bit more time with the arms and legs to get the kundalini. I'm rushing now because I know I'm late. All right, good. It's time to start. So, closing your eyes. I'm going to turn my sound up a bit. Close it. Let me just, my mic. Let me just move my mic a bit. Okay, closing your eyes and dropping into the holographic breathing. Notice how instantly it connects with the brain, how the energies start moving through the brain. As soon as you start doing holographic breathing, releases through your brain, through your throat, through your face, and through the whole body. Just feeling that sideways motion. And notice how easily you just drop into holographic breathing. And if you're used to connective breath, leave a space on the in-breath and the out-breath. It's not connective breathing. The whole torso, the whole face and head, the arms and legs, opening on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. Becoming aware of the cranial fluid around the spine, around the brain, breathing. Becoming aware of the lateral ventricles in each hemisphere of the brain, breathing. Notice to get to the third ventricle in the center of the thalamus, you have to drop back, dropping back to the back of your head. And in the center of your thalamus, there is the third ventricle. So you've got the lateral ventricles wrapped around the thalamus and spreading out into each hemisphere of the brain, and you're dropped back behind to view those. And then there's a channel coming from that across the top of the thalamus and down inside the thalamus, and you've got this circular ventricle in the thalamus. At the front of it you've got the pituitary gland, and at the back of it you've got the pineal gland, and that whole front area inside that is the hypothalamus, and the whole area is the thalamus. You've got all of the cranial fluid slowly moving from the cerebrum towards the thalamus, into the ventricles. And around the thalamus you've got these things called the choroid plexus, and they're producing more cranial fluid with oxygen and glucose and nutriments. And this extra nutrition, this extra oxygen, this extra glucose and salt and water is flowing into the thalamus, flowing into the third ventricle, and you've got all the central operating areas of the brain. And this water is flowing through it. You've got all of those nutriments, and it's connected to God. You've got the third eye there, that is the third eye complex, and that releases up through the crown chakra, up into the heavens, up into the subtle realms, and all of that water is ventilating that area, and that water is the center of that area, and it's all coming towards there. It's getting more oxygen and glucose, and you've got that light of the third eye of that whole area being imbibed into the water. And then that drops down. Notice as that drops down through the center of the brain stem, and through the brain stem it starts grounding. It's very high energy in the third eye, and as it drops down through the brain stem it starts grounding. It's like a little person, and the thalamus is the head. You've got the cerebellum at the back, the brain stem in front. So you can sit back into the back of the head. And out of the brain stem at the front, you've got all of the cranial nerves. And all of this cranial fluid, or cranial sea, imbibed with the third eye, flows out around the face, around the cranium, through the teeth, through all the areas of the face, taking that wisdom, that energy, that knowledge, and it flows down through the spine, and also from the brain stem you've got the vagus nerve, all of that water flowing down through the vagus nerve, through the lungs, the heart, the intestines, feeding them with nutrition and light and enlightenment. And this water, salt water, flowing down through the spine, carrying all of that connection to God, to the Creator, connection to the third eye, connection to the crown chakra. That's imbibed into the water's memory, and the water starts flowing off down through the nerves. Down through, from the neck it's flowing out, down through the arms to every finger, these capillaries full of water. Then around the chest into the lungs, around the abdomen into the abdomen, down into the pelvis, through the sacrum, into the genitalia, into the rectum, into all the organs in the pelvis, then down the legs, through the nerves in the legs, and out through every capillary, every myelinating capillary, to every part of your body. And you've got this light going off in your head, and this unbroken connection of water for that light to flow through, out through your whole body. Healing everything, healing your nervous system, healing the myelinating glial cells. You've got God, you've got the Creator flowing through every nerve capillary, to every part of your body, right into the fingers and toes, through your whole face, through your throat, to every organ. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. A lot going on around people's throats and thyroids. Being aware of this water flowing out from the spinal cord in the neck, around the Adam's apple area, around the thyroid area. A lot of tiredness issues. Let that connect up through there into your thyroid. Let your hands, fingers, toes relax. Let those water of light travel down through the arms, down through the legs, and into the hands and feet, and into the fingers and toes. Let your body heal. Your body is water, and the nervous system is a body of water. And you can feel the cranium is just full of water. It's just those astrocyte cells with all those tentacles hold it into a shape, but it's just really, it's 90% water with seaweed in it. And then the ventricles are 99% water. There's just no seaweed in the ventricles or around the brain. And this light comes in through the top of your head, this divine knowledge. Don't avoid the mind, don't avoid the intellect. That is the lower part of the higher self. Watch, sit back. You don't have to watch the intellect, you just watch the anatomy of the intellect, and then that gives you the connection to the Creator, to the subtle realms, to the beyond. Letting that come out, especially around the trachea and throat area. Let that spread through your whole body. The throat is where a lot of people channel from. Allow your throat to relax so that that channel and energy comes through you. You have to let your throat relax to be able, there we go, then your channels can come through. Once you let the neck and throat relax, then the brain melts, the face melts, and you connect strongly to the higher self. Let your throat and neck melt, and let that energy flow through you from your beneficial energies, from the gods, from the Creator. Let that heal you through and through. God flows through the water, or the waters. Intelligence flows through the waters. You are the Creator. You are part of the Creator. The Creator is just creating itself. You are part of the Creator. Allowing your kidneys to relax, lower back of your ribs, around the adrenals and kidneys. Let this release and relax. Letting that flow off down through your arms and legs. Allow yourself to channel. Allow yourself to channel through this water. Let your neck release, let your throat relax. Let those energies pour through you. Let the divine open through every cell, and let the waters communicate that to every cell. Let that heal your brain through and through. All of those glial cells floating in water, let them heal. Back of the neck. Let the energies release in your spine and through your head. Now the energies also running the other way. Spine is releasing, pelvis is releasing. It releases through the brain up into the higher self. Your sexual potency becomes food for the gods. Kundalini releases. It's not for you. The Kundalini releases through your body. It heals through you. But eventually it releases through your head and it becomes food for the higher self and healing for the higher self. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Feeling that flowing off down through the arms and legs. The arms and legs help to balance the kundalini in the spine. Feeling the arms and legs breathing. Notice how the energies in the spine are balanced by the energies in the arms and legs. When you get down into the hands and feet relate to the brain and cranium. It all becomes one energy. And spine pulses and releases, and a whole new intelligence starts to open up through your spine. A new healing system, a new way of viewing, a way of clearing your bardo, every bit of karma from every lifetime as the spine starts to awaken and the brain starts to awaken. This is the beginning of a new reality. This will change your life forever. Once you start understanding how that energy works, you may feel the different vertebrae relaxing into position. You may get a different perspective where you may be sitting back and viewing your brain rather than being your brain and the intellect. You drop back and the wheel of Dharma starts to spin. Rather than being the wheel of Dharma, you are watching these energies turning through your brain, your spine releasing. And there is our kundalini through the spine. We're also connecting to that reality in the earth, through the feet, through the hands, and she balances this energy as the earth kundalini rises through us. It's a much easier energy to be with than our own kundalini. It's kind of bigger and gentler. This also moves in the same way through the spine, through the brain, and communicates up into the heavens. Breathing, whatever you're feeling is fine. It may not be as what I am describing, but just being with that. And it's important to be aware of the arms and legs because they will balance the kundalini in your spine. And the connection to the earth will balance the kundalini in your spine. This will heal everything. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Letting your brain pulse. Letting the heavens descend. Sitting down into your pelvis, sacrum, down into your rectum. Sit down into your rectum and ground through the sit bones and rectum. And breathe. Especially being aware of the arms and legs. Notice how once you're aware of your arms and legs, this light slowly starts percolating. Become aware of the arms and legs and become aware of the TMJs where the jaw is joining into the cranium. This is like the arms and legs for the cranium. This starts running this energy through you, being aware of the arms, the legs, the very top of the jaw where it's joining into the cranium. Now it will release through your neck, cervical vertebrae. Legs relate to the abdomen, the arms relate to the chest, TMJs relate to the neck and the energies travelling through the face and brain. And when they all come together, the arms, legs, or the legs, arms and TMJs, when they're balanced and breathing together, this will open the third eye and the crown chakra. And that energy will move into transcendence through the top of your head. With your arms, you may feel your shoulder blades starting to melt. Let your shoulder blades melt. Okay, we're going to come back in about a minute. And sending a thank you to the earth. Sending a thank you to the higher self, the subtle realms, the beneficial energies. And thanking yourself. And letting the energies go off for love and healing to the earth. Love and healing to the higher self and the beneficial energies. And letting yourself be loved and healed. And letting the energies go out to all sentient beings for love and healing. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourselves to come back.